We're here today to talk about our experience getting set up with IMMS, which is the Mexican Social Security medical insurance. Now, this involved 4 appointments?
Five actually altogether.
Yeah. So what was required even to start the process was we had to have a copy of our marriage certificate, three pictures.
Three frontal pictures.
Three frontal pictures. They're actually smaller than the passport sized ones.
Mm-hmm.
We also had to have our CURP number, which you get when you go to set up your temporary residency or permanent residency.
Which is through IMMS immigrations, really.
Right. And so we did that. We had our temporary residency, which is required even to start this process to get on the IMMS insurance.
So basically we had to have, Mark is saying, is that we had to have our passport, our marriage certificate, our green card, that, say it again, CURP number, and we had to have a utility bill, and then our 3 frontal pictures.
Right.
And you didn't have to have your hair back and your ears showing like you do at immigration.
Right.
This could just be a frontal picture. So,
right.
But they needed 3 of them. So that's what we needed when we went there. We did have an assistant that we hired, and because we're horrible at speaking the Spanish language still. So anyhow, so we hired her to help us, which was a godsend really, because it would have driven us crazy on what to do. So you have to submit all the stuff. You go up to the counter, you submit all that stuff, and then you have to have cash on you because you need to go next to a bank. I guess that's affiliated with them. Maybe they give a number or something that you deposit the money into, which is related to them.
Right. And so, yeah, they have no facility to handle cash on site at the main IMMS site. So you have to leave the building, go to a bank with their account number, deposit the money in the bank, bring the receipt back, and then show them that you've actually paid for that to get to the next step of the process.
You have to pay for a year up front, which was actually, and we talked a little bit about it in a previous video, which was $550 US, or basically 10,000
350 pesos.
Yeah, 350 pesos
a piece.
So so that's what you had to do. You had to pay for a whole year up front to get your IMMS and go through this procedure. So that was the very first step that we had to do.
And keep in mind, if they decide to decline you for some reason, you don't get that money back.
Right, you lose it all.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so the second appointment was going to the lab and scheduling our appointment for blood work and for a urinalysis. And so what you do is set up your appointment, and then you need to go to a pharmacy and purchase your urine cup, which runs about 25 cents, and then you take that with you the day that your appointment is scheduled, and then you have to fast for like 8 hours. So we did that, and then we went back and we did our blood work, and then we handed them our urinalysis cups. And then you have a third appointment. So your third appointment, you go back like 2 days later for your results, and it's a printout. So you go back for your results, and then you take that to this like room, I don't know what you want to call it, like there's like this waiting room area, like where there's a doctor in there, and so you give that to him. And then at that point, they weigh you, see how tall you are, and then they do your blood pressure twice to make sure that it's, I don't know, the same. So they do your blood pressure twice, and then what happened after that? Do you remember?
So while we were in this office, and they saw each of us individually, the doctor asked us if we smoked, if we drank, if we had any pre-existing conditions, Um, and then from there,
Exercise.
and exercise, how many days a week you exercise.
Yeah.
And from there, if he likes your results and your answers, he approves you at that point and stamps your paperwork. So after being approved at the main office, there's a fourth trip involved in which you have to go to the hospital, or the IMSS hospital, which you are assigned. You don't get to pick your own. And
It just depends where you live.
Right. And then you turn in your paperwork there, but you're required to bring again your passport, your residency card, your green card, the stamped paperwork that you were given in the previous visit. Was there anything else?
Two more frontal pictures.
Right.
Even though each of your paperwork that you have has a frontal picture already stapled to it, you have to bring 2 more.
Right. And then once you see them, you're given a medical book. And then keep in mind that here in Mexico, you're responsible for maintaining your own medical records here. So you have to keep all of that stuff yourself, as we talked about that in another video that we had done.
Yeah, I think they're just behind on the times, probably like by 50 years maybe.
Yeah.
On having everything in the database and pulling it up and what have you. They don't have that kind of stuff. Everybody that we saw in IMSS being seen had their medical books with them that they had to provide.
Right. So keep that in mind. Keep good track of your own medical stuff because they don't. Now, also with IMSS, the first year your access is limited. You keep, as you keep renewing year after year after year, you get more access. But it's not a lot the first year. However, if you have some emergency, like your, an appendix issue, your appendix breaks or something like that, obviously they're going to see you and take care of you. But it's just a lot of the other stuff that you don't have access to until you get 2 or 3 years into it.
Yeah, it's kind of strange what Mark has read online, but that's how it works. It's almost like they don't want you to use it the first year or 2, but you can go there if you're sick and schedule a doctor's appointment or something like that.
Right.
But for something major, like any kind of a surgery, they really frown upon it the first year or 2. Yeah.
The other thing we wanted to mention is that if you have a pre-existing condition on IMSS, that will not be covered. So that's also something to consider too. I believe they will cover you on anything else that comes up. But if you have a pre-existing condition, you're going to have to go another way to take care of that. And that could be through private medical care.
Like at Victoria.
Like at Victoria, yeah. So some pre-existing conditions are not covered. Malignant tumors, mental illness, addictions, drug addictions, AIDS, and things of that nature. Congenital diseases, chronic diseases, chronic degenerative, chronic degenerative diseases. So the reason why we got IMSS is, so that it would cover us for any kind of a catastrophic emergency that happened if we were somewhere in Mexico. Currently we have another private insurance here in Morelia that won't cover us outside of Morelia, but the IMSS will. However, if we were just traveling around in Mexico and something came up, we would probably just pay out of pocket at some private doctor, as long as it wasn't like an emergency room type of situation.
In an emergency type situation, we can go to an IMS hospital and show our card, and we'd be seen there.
Right, and they just tell you to just go into the emergency room and you'll be seen. One of the things I did read online, however, though, is that people that have paid into IMSS all their life will get priority over you, as long as it's not like some sort of heart attack situation.
Wow.
But we are, because we came here as expats and signed up for it, we came on a voluntary thing. We haven't paid into IMMS all of our lives. We just signed up. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe and
Click the bell and you'll be notified every time that we put out a new video.